Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to another one of our art streams. Today I'm going to be talking a little meta about art today. I'm going to be talking about starting and finishing projects. Yeah. So this breaks down into at least three big basic areas. Okay, and those three basic areas are: one, you need to have a vision. Two, you need to set firm goals. And number three, I'm going to continue the theme of writing in all caps here. Three, you need to execute. A big old serious period there. We'll put exclamation points behind these ones. Okay. So, you need to have a vision, set firm goals, and execute. So, what am I talking about when I say have a vision? Well, I'm talking about a number of different things. So, let me pull up a new layer here. What does it mean to... Oops. What does it mean to have a vision? Well, a lot of people think having a vision is just daydreaming, and that's one potential aspect of having a vision. It's like a vision, in my opinion, is going to be it's going to be the daydream to end daydreams. It needs to be the best. A vision has to be crystal clear. It has to be the best that your visual, that all of your sensory forms of forms of imagination get lit up, and they all have to be it has to be the best that you can do. And I know that a lot of people struggle with self-confidence. So it might help to invent someone that you can be confident about. So we can ask the question, who do I have a vision for? And you can have a vision for yourself, and you can have a vision for your persona. Specifically, today, I think right now I'm going to take you through an exercise in trying to find your original genius. You have a vision for your original genius. And who was your original genius? You are your original genius. Or at least you used to be. I'm going to take you back in time. Who are you going to have a vision for? You're going to have your original genius. Who is your original genius? Your original genius is the 5-year-old version of yourself or your Sona. Let me walk you through this, okay? Because when you or your Sona was 5 years old, right? They're just, they know how to walk. They're a little bit past the toddler stage. They're still learning how to talk, but they have an endless supply of imagination. And when I talk about what does it mean to have a vision and what does it mean to exercise your imagination, when you were exercising your imagination as a 5-year-old kid, you could imagine things to the moon and back. That's one of the things that's super powerful. That's a superpower that you still have, that like 5-year-olds have, and you still have it as well. So this is getting a bit bigger than like any particular singular art piece, but hear me out here, okay? Your 5-year-old version of yourself or your Sona, you have a vision for them. You take them through a whole bunch of questions, all right? Yeah, you might be drawing houses all day, and if you like drawing houses, that would be amazing, Like, backgrounds and houses and perspective and stuff are super hard, but a 5-year-old is not concerned about any of that. They're just drawing a house, And you want to get to that point again where you have that, where you don't even think about self-confidence anymore. You just think, draw a house, right? Because a 5-year-old doesn't think about, like, should I have or not have that cookie, and what are the caloric intake effects going to be? They're not thinking about that. They're thinking cookie. Want cookie. So you don't have to talk to a 5-year-old about like self-confidence or anything like that. They have all the vision. They have the original genius. They have the drive, the motivation, and if they don't get what they want, they're gonna throw a bit of a tantrum. And I'm going to tell you that that's a little bit okay, actually. It's okay for you to want stuff and to throw a tantrum sometimes. So I'll take you through that. All right. So I'm going to start a new little exercise here. Who do you think you are? Now, we're going to ask this question of ourselves in a genuine tone, right? Because most of the time people are asking, like, who do you think you are? Like, who do you think you are? Like, they're trying to cut you down a notch. But I'm going to, this is going to be taken in a different tone. It's not cutting you down a notch. It's being genuinely curious. You need to think about who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And who do you think your 5-year-old furry self is? Who do you think those people are? And those people can be a lot of different things. Like me, for example, like I am a considerate, thoughtful, and creative 33-year-old furry artist. I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm lonely, I'm a father, I'm a pet owner, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm bearing life as opposed to loving it sometimes. I struggle with motivation and conscientiousness. I believe more is possible, but I have a hard time finding how to get it. I think about massive things, and I think about tiny details, and I want to do a lot of good. And I don't think of myself as having a lot of resources, but I do have a sharp mind, and I am capable of doing a lot more than I feel like I'm currently doing. So that's one version of like, who do you think you are? But the other version of who do you think you are should come from a place of like, what do you love? What did you love when you were young? Me, for example, I loved playing video games and reading comics and watching cartoons, and I loved musicals, and I loved pretend, and I loved Halloween costumes, and I would find any excuse at all to get in a costume or dress up or something like that as a young little kid. And I still love all of that stuff. honestly. I haven't grown up out of that, so to speak. I would still be in love with like extreme, like it's on a more adult level now, obviously, right? So like my love for musicals has evolved a bit. Like it used to be Cats was my favorite musical. And nowadays I have a hard time choosing. I really like Hamilton. But anyways, um so that yeah. So like what do you love? To have a vision for yourself, you need to think about what do you love. And try to be as sincerely hearted about this as possible. What do you love, right? What do you love? What were you like? What would little furry kid you be like? You know, what would they be like? And you got to think about like who they are, and then the next thing that you have to think about, you have to think about the environment. Right? You're thinking about who you were or who your younger furry self was or whatever. And if you have kind of you can develop these ideas as we go. Like, you know, maybe I'm moving a bit fast. That's totally okay. Pause me if you're on YouTube, if you need to, you know, or revisit this or whatever. Take the time you need to seriously reflect on these things, because they relate to, yes, drawing pictures, but they relate to things like beyond that as well. So anyway, think about the environment. Think about what your environment was, and think about what your environment should have been. So if you think about this little furry kid self or whatever, is their mind and body treated with unique, special love and respect that you would give to yourself? Are they treated with that type of respect? Are their desires and aspirations loved and respected? Are they getting education and material needs met in the way that would best support them? Are they encouraged to explore all of their desires, even if their desires change from day to day? Were they allowed to complain and be listened to and supported emotionally, and not just dealt with materially, not just brushed off, not, you know, if they get into trouble, imagine they get into trouble. Have they been bailed out when they made a mistake? Were they forgiven without being lectured? You know, I think a whole bunch of us went through these processes or whatever. Like, was your 5-year-old furry self, if you can imagine them, were the people around that person successful? And were they happy to see that person succeed? And like all of this, there's a whole bunch of questions there about the environment, and like, who could they turn out to be? What would you have been if your environment had been perfect for you? If all of your needs had been met and then some, what would they be? And then from here, I ask you to dream big. About what would your ideal environment what would your ideal environment have? What would your ideal environment have? What would your ideal environment have? Have made you? What would your ideal environment have made you? What would it be? And what would it make you? What would it have made you? Dream and dream big. This is connecting with a vision. Yeah, and not everyone is supported to their fullest extent. People are imperfect, right? And I think, you know, parents are imperfect and their children are going to be imperfect. We're all going to try to do the best we can, and sometimes, you know, that's not how things turn out. But, you know, just give yourself this space to imagine right now. And right now rubber can meet the road a little bit later. So right now, like, you know, take yourself through these questions. What would your ideal environment have, and what would it have made you? And dream the biggest thing possible, and get the details down if you can. Get all of as many details as you can. You know, like what type of house, what type of school, what type of friends they make, what type of people they're around, what their family is like in the ideal scenario, you know, and just try and dream really big. And, you know, I hope that this, you know, is a very positive experience. And sometimes it might not be. Sometimes it hurts too hard. And I want you to know that that's okay if it hurts hard. Because this is naturally what happens. When you get your hopes up, sometimes you end up being let down. And that's okay. It happens. And it's rough, and you know, you need support structure. You need people to be there for you. I wish I could be there for everyone who's having a hard time out there right now. You know, the fact is, I'm just one person and I can't handle everybody's problems. But I wish I could. But yeah, so like, I want to be the type of person that supports all of these different things, both with my own child, and with myself, and with you guys. I want to support you guys, however I can. But yeah, so anyway, this is it's a part of having a vision. All right, so we shall go through. When you have that big old vision, we're going to do some analysis of it, or we can do a number of other kind of exercises. So find your style. And this is specifically, like, I want to talk about style in like a broader life sense rather than just, any particular art style, whether it be painterly or comic booky or cartoony or hyper realistic or, you know, hyper abstract, whatever. I want to step a little bit beyond that, back from that, a little bit meta about that, and find your style of living. Find your style of living, and also of artwork. And to do that, we're going to do a couple of exercises. For example, a lot of I'm going to write this out, and maybe you have conflicting feelings about like role playing, but role playing is a super important thing that you can do for yourself and with yourself, and you can role play whoever you want. Like, you could role play a color. Pick a color. I am orange. I am orange. And describe yourself. I am vibrant. I am warm, but not too warm. I am orange. I am lively. I am lively. Um, I'm not over the top. Not over the top, because like I see like colors like red and like yellow, they can be a little too intense, but I'd like to be a mix of those things, right? I like to be vibrant and lively, but not over the top. I'm not the super intense like heat of red, but I'm not the ultra intense heat of yellow. I'm orange. I'm warm, but I'm not too warm. Inviting. Um, you know, and you can do all sorts of these things. You can role play a color, for instance, and you can find out really quick that like if when I'm in this mode, who am I really talking about? Like the color orange is just a color, right? Who am I really talking about here? I'm talking about me, except under the form of this game here, I'm able to say things about myself and be positive in kind of an objective way. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's good though. That's good. If you feel some sense of nostalgia or something like that. But yeah, so like you can role play a color and you can find some interesting things about yourself. You can also, and this is again coming back to this is a method of like analyzing what we've talked about before, right? If your 5-year-old furry self or whatever was playing a color, what would they say? You know, or what would the people that are in their lives say? What would positive influences in their lives say? All of that. Be really, answer that question however you can to just kind of invite that sense of playfulness and of hope and of just being like joyful and happy for a moment, like the outside world, it can wait a little. It can wait a little, you can also play detective with your life. You can also play detective with your life. If you've had trouble answering some of these questions before, like what exactly, would things have been like or whatever, one of the things that can unlock a greater view into yourself is to play detective with your life. What is in your fridge? What is in your trash? What is on your tables? What is in your closet? All of these various things, right? You can ask yourself, these will be clues. Clues as to what your style is. Clues to your personal style. And when you do this, you're trying to like investigate from like an outside perspective, right? You're trying to find out who exactly is this person from an outside perspective, and notice everything that you do in fact notice, right? But focus on all of the good things that you notice. Focus on the things that you find that you like about this person that you're playing detective to find out about, right? All of these things. All of these things are clues to what your personal style is. And let me come back here for a little bit to role playing a color. So it's important to recognize your choice and identity. Like for me, example, I just picked orange. I knew exactly right off the bat what color I was. And this isn't just like a Sona color. This is a personality type of thing. But you can take a long time picking your favorite color or colors to role play, because your style is not trivial. It's not a trivial thing. What your color is an important aspect of you, or what your if you can't choose one, choose a couple combinations. It's you are unique. You are unique. So you gotta remember that. And you have to understand that your uniqueness your uniqueness makes comparisons and competitions kind of meaningless. Everyone is from their own personal point of perspective. As artists, we compare ourselves to other artists, like, am I as good or am I as bad? We naturally do that, but you don't necessarily want to do that, because everyone is different. Everyone has a different life experience. People had different environments growing up. You might not be everything that you want to be, but you are you, and your experience up to this point has been 100% unique. There's been nothing like it. And there's been nothing like it because no one has occupied the same mind as you. Mr. Rogers was right. You are special. You can use this as a guide to, understanding your personal assets and a loving type of self-objectivity. Because if we're told to talk about ourselves, we can be very self-deprecating. We can be like, oh, I'm very depressed. I'm not all that motivated. I'm not, this. I'm not that. And we need to put that stuff, and that stuff might be true, but we need to put it aside for a moment and take some time to be positive, because again, we're in this process of having a vision, right? So do your best to see yourself as others see you. So here's another exercise. Create your perfect family. And my perfect family has people from all over the place. My ideal family, I have an uncle who's an astronaut. I have an uncle who makes comedy sketch videos on YouTube. I have an uncle who's a really great artist and knows exactly how to draw the human form in any pose. I've got an uncle that's Spider-Man. I've got an uncle that's Captain America. Like whatever. Make up your ideal family. It can be composed of like real and fictional people, right? But they're ideal, and you can play these type of these type of games anyway. Like if you want Naruto, as your brother, or Markiplier as your cousin or whatever, like do whatever. Make a perfect family that is composed of winners who support and challenge you. Winners who support and challenge you. So that's another thing that you can do to do that, and you can role play them. Role play them describing you. Role play them describing you to yourself, and role play them describing you to other people. And you can get a real, sense of yourself, like who do you think you are, and so forth. I'm not streaming it anywhere else. I'm doing it right now, but I will be uploading the entire thing to YouTube. Sorry it took me a while to get to that. But yeah. All right. Yeah. So do that as an exercise. Create your perfect family. Like this is gonna be like maybe you don't want them as close as family. That's okay. They can be a create your perfect. Create your perfect cheerleaders, or cheering section, supportive crowd. They're a supportive crowd. They're people who you'd walk in the door and everyone would go, "Hey, it's you." But anyway. A supportive crowd. So imagine that as a potential thing that you could do. Another thing. Or where am I moving on to from here? Hang on a sec. Yeah. Okay. Here's another thing you could do. List 20 things you like to do. Or how about this? That you'd like to do if you haven't done them before. Either you do like to do them or whatever, and come up with 20 of them. 1 through 20. And 20's kind of a bit long. I'm just kind of choosing it as a place to one through if you're coming up with 20 different things, you tend to get more creative as you reach the end of that list. So some people will peter out at 10 and say, like, I don't really know that much more. If you get to 19 and you need a 20th, you can say, like, scratching when it itches or something like that. Like, be as creative as you need to. Just fill it up. Fill up a list of 20 things that you you'd like to do, or you think you'd like to do. If you can come up with 20 different things, I bet you can be very creative. And if you're more creative, come up with 30 different things, 30 different things that you'd like to do. And all of this can be life design rehearsal. I went back to like theater. I don't know if any of you were like theater kids. I was a little bit of a theater kid when I was going through school. But a rehearsal is just where it's not the production itself. It's all of the times that you go for it to practice. Make it a first draft. Things are not going to go well necessarily the first time ever. But yeah, excuse me just a moment. I'm getting a little parched. Excuse me. All right. So, there are other different things that you can do, but let's we're about halfway through. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next one. So from earlier, that's all about having a vision, right? Those are all things that can help you formulate a vision, who you are, the people that surround you, the people, who you could have become, your environment. All of those things can be important in having a vision. And like I said, do your best to invoke every sense. What are you seeing? What are you touching? What are you tasting? What are you feeling? All of that. Make it as vivid as possible. All right, and then analyze it, break it down. If you can write a whole bunch of stuff down, that can be the vision that you start from. Moving on to number 2, we need to set firm goals. So let me go ahead and pull up a new. Yes. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. What is a firm goal? Goals are what life design is made of. Goals are what your life design is made of. And maybe they haven't been firm, maybe they haven't been the best so far, whatever. And if relating this back to a picture, maybe your pictures don't turn out the way that you want them to, but that's okay. It's making those firm goals and doing your best to stretch to reach them. That is what your life design is made of. That's what your style is made of. That's what a whole bunch of things are made of. And goals should have two main rules. Okay? 2 main rules. That was very bad. 2 main rules. Rule number 1 of a goal: they are solid yes, no, they are solid yes, no, or deals. You either get it or you don't. You pass or you fail. You're drawing the line across the sand here, and you either cross it or you don't. And that's kind of anxiety inducing for people. So let me back off just a little bit here. Your goals can be whatever, right? If you feel something is too hard, you need to break it up into pieces. All right, break it up into something smaller. Do something simple, right? Walk before you run, shuffle a couple steps forward, or get off your butt at the very basics of it, but you got to do what you can to break it down. But it's a solid yes or no ordeal. Did I get out of bed today? Yes, I reached that goal. Did I start a stream today? Yes, I'm in the middle of it. Is this going to be the best thing ever? Probably no, but I'm doing the best that I can. The goals are what life design is made of, and the 2 main rules is that they are solid yes, no, or deals. All right, and so 2, the second rule of design is Goals inspire forever. Meaningful goals will inspire you forever. If you have made a meaningful goal, it should inspire you if it's set in the future. It should fill you with good emotions. It should be a lasting source of pure positive emotion. So right now, it's creating positive anticipation in the future, and then once you've met it, or even once you've failed it, looking back after striving to meet a goal will be a fond memory. You know, there will be that time that you really went all out for something, and if you succeed, that will be amazing. But even if you fail, you look back on that and you say, I did everything that I could, and I did the best job possible for me, and that is a positive memory for me, even though I might have fallen short of the goal. So, you know, those are the two primary rules. They are solid yes/no ordeals, and the most meaningful goals inspire you forever, or at least they last a considerably long time. You know, like, people change. I get that. That's the reality of things. But looking back at the things that you have accomplished can be seen in a positive light. You know, people change, and like, for example, I changed. I used to be a type of person that was not very accepting. I used to be the type of person that was very conservative and closed to other life experiences that were around me. But things changed about me, you know. And even so, I can look back at the things that I did, you know, when I was the type of person that I don't like anymore. When I was the type of person that I don't like anymore, I was still doing good and valuable and important things, you know. And I can look at my past achievements, both critically, but also lovingly. I can forgive myself. I can move forward. I'm not the person that I was yesterday. I'm doing better today, at least a little bit, and I'm trying to do a little bit better every single day. And I don't always succeed, but that's what I'm going for, you know, as far as like art and life and stuff. All right. So we'll go ahead and go to another one here. We'll continue with this theme of making goals. Okay. Choosing a target. Choosing a target. You want your targets to be specific. Not vague. You want them to be near, not unattainable. Let's see here. And you want it to be inspiring. Whoops. And not half-hearted. Where do you find these things? Where do you find the targets or whatever? How do you decide what to do first, right? So if you've gone through all of the exercise, if you have an idea of what your original self is, what your 5-year-old self is, who you are right now, giving you the best idea of who you are right now, how do I choose a specific target? How do I choose a target? You want to be specific, you want it to be near, you want it to be inspiring. There might be things that are far, that they're a long haul. You know, or there might be, or you might have Or you might have the problem of I have too many targets. I have an abundance of goals. I have so many things that I want to do with my life. I feel that I would need 5 lifetimes to do it all. And that is, that it can be a source of stress, yes. But I also want you to realize that it's a blessing to have an abundance of goals and too little time. And you can fit at least little pieces of all of those lives into your current one life. You can consider making separate goals sequential ones. You can do one thing this month and another thing the next, and so forth. Or you can consider mixing goals. You can consider making separate goals simultaneous ones. You do one thing during the day, another thing during night. Mix and match combinations of those goals. You can have 1 month be half one thing and 2/4 of other things. You can say like, oh, this thing is my main dish, and I've got a couple side dishes goals that I'm working on right now. Consider mixing them together. Oh, I want to write novels, but I also want to play professional baseball. Write a novel about playing professional baseball or something like that. All of these things, you can have a little bit of a taste of each of them in your life. So yeah, make work your goals into that. All right. So from that point, we've gone through our style. Perhaps we know a little bit more about who we are, or who we used to be, or the type of things that we want in our life. We now need to go. This is where I was talking about earlier, where rubber needs to hit the road, right? And we need to actually plot the path to the goal, right? This is still a part of goal making. We have not reached execution yet. So plot a path. And we're going to do this real simple, right? We're going to say that our goal is to draw a kick ass illustration. This is going to be our final goal, right? And right now, you're here at whatever level of art, like, let's say current level of art. You have your current level of art, and then somewhere between these two is the path, and there are a number of things between these, right? A number of stepping stones or obstacles that you need to pass, right? To either get from your current level of art to drawing a kick-ass illustration, right? So we have where we are currently, and we have our goal. You can work from this point forward, or you can work from this point backward to figure out what each of these things are. Because you'll be like, okay, well, I need a number of things before, I know that I can draw a kick-ass illustration. I need to learn my anatomy better, and I need to, do better on perspective. I need to have color and shadow. I need to have inspiration. I need to have composition. And you think about all of the things that you need, either moving forward from your current level, or moving backward from your goal. And you're bridge building at this point, right? You're plotting the path between your two things. And so this middle section, I've kind of blown over it, but let me go into a little bit further detail, maybe, real quick. So brainstorming, right? Two parts of brainstorming. You have to cloud gathering, bridge building. You have to have your cloud gathering and your bridge building, and your cloud gathering can have everything. All right, it's a cloud. So the cloudier, the fluffier, the more airy it is, sometimes the better. You have to bring that in. You know, the more out on a limb, the craziest ideas you have should be a part of your brainstorming process. You'll rule some of those things out eventually, but even those things that are so crazy that you would never do them, or like aren't able to do them, or are, you know, are all of these fantasies or whatever. You know, I wish I could grab a hold of Kuro Blood, the illustrator, and just kind of suck some of his talent, you know, through my hands into my brain or something like that, right? Like, that needs to be part of the brainstorming process, even though that's not really how talent and learning works. You know, it teaches those things that end up on the list. Our fantasies have things to teach us about what we want to do, or how we want to do them, you know? And so, like, I can rule out, well, I'm not actually going to be able to do that because that's not how things work. How can I do it instead? Or what does wanting to do that teach me? It teaches me that I really, really want this, you know, that, like, if there were some magic button I could press it right there, you know? And I can use that as a source of inspiration, you know. So whenever you're brainstorming, cloud gathering, put everything down. Nothing is off the table here. Put everything out on there. Play all your cards, and then use that. Use everything that you have there to build a bridge. You know, like, okay, I can't suck someone's talent through my hands and into my skull, but I can read books. You know, I can ask artists about their inspirations. I can ask them for book recommendations. I can do all sorts of things. You know, be creative, right? Because we've got, you know, us here, and we've got our wall of problems here, and we've got our goal here, you know, and perhaps there's no way, like, around this or anything. You have to go through these to get here, and you have to check off every one of these boxes before you move there. You know, whatever. That's all a part of your bridge building. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, and you can make it a multi-level flow chart or whatever. Look into making a flow chart into building yourself. You know, they're very effective. There are lots of very effective tools. Oh, here's another one. Barn raising. You gather your friends. You gather your friends and community. You gather your friends in your community and you present your goals and checklist, and you ask for help. And you ask for help. And if you have, you know, made an exceptional, not it doesn't necessarily have to be exceptional, but if you can gather a handful of friends in your community and you can present your goals and your checklist in a meaningful way, people will fall over themselves to help you out. They will do everything that they can to help you out. I will do, if someone came to me with a list saying, like, oh, hey, I need some recommendations for books on, like, anatomy and figure drawing and this and that, I could point them in a number of directions and say, go here, here, and here. Check these books out from your library, or check out this online resource, or check out these, video tutorials, or picture tutorials, or whatever. People will fall over themselves to give you help if you present your goals and your checklist with as much specificity as possible. And you can ask for help, and people are hardwired for collaboration and doing effective things like that. So consider barn raising after you've done your brainstorming, right? And hey, maybe you can brainstorm as a session, as a group thing. You can do that as a group session. If you do really effective group brainstorming sessions, they naturally become barn raising sessions, because they'll be like, oh, I've got these resources and all sorts of stuff that you can use, and I'd be happy to help you along with your goal, because I think it would be really neat to say, like, hey, I was a part of that thing that so and so built, that you built, because you're amazing. They want to help you out with that. Two important things to keep in mind while barn raising: mutual reciprocity. You need to have fairness. You cannot ask from anyone else what you would not be willing to get, for yourself. And anytime that, like, you're asking for help, be the type of person that participates in other people's barn raising by giving back. Be the type of person who's involved with that type of thing. Be reciprocal about it. Give and take. That's a big rule. Be mutual about it. And two is right to decline. Respect everyone else's right to decline. Everyone, at the end of the day, people, may want to help, but if it would be like too strenuous or too much of a stretch, or too stressful, or if you're asking for someone, something that might be too much of them, you need to respect their right to decline. You need to be upfront and say, like, hey, you can say no. You can say no to this, but here's what I need. Can you help me? And then, you absolutely 100% respect their right to decline. So those are the two most important things when it comes to barn raising. All right, let's see here. Some quick notes on time management. Some quick notes on time management. I think the number one rule of time management is time management is to recognize that someday you will die. No one likes to think about this, but everything that you do, there will be one day where you do it for the last time, and you probably won't know you've done it for the last time. someday you will die. If you want to manage your time effectively, everything has to be framed with that idea. Someday it's just gonna all, you know, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Like we only know that we have this one life, right? Someday it's gonna be over. Even if the miracles of science, prevent us, from if we get mind uploads into machines or whatnot and effective immortality, fine. But one day the universe will experience heat death. So even if that miracle comes true, at the very maximum, trillions of years from now, everything will be over. At some point. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it?
Hello?
Hello.
What's going on?
I'm doing a presentation.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I hovered over the live and I saw someday you will die. That got
Yeah.
me joy.
It's quick notes on time management. Someday you will die, so what are you going to do about it? Alright, so you have goals, right? I've talked about goals previously. I'm recording this and I'm going to upload it to YouTube eventually. But yeah. But this is basically what it comes down to, the quick notes on time management. All good things must come to an end, so whenever you are thinking about your time, you must manage it. You must split tasks into time frames. Split tasks into time frames. And you can give yourself set a few different deadlines. And there are many different types of deadlines. You can have a rolling deadline. You can have a hard deadline. You can have a soft deadline. You've seen it, like professionals do this all the time too. Like if you've looked into a game that you were super stoked to get, at once upon a time it said like, oh yeah, we were coming out in spring of 2022 or something like that. That's not at all hard. Like spring is at least a 3-month period. Like there's a big area. Or said like, oh hey, it's coming in 2023 or something like that. Like that's even bigger. So like those are what I'm talking about when we talk about like soft deadlines or rolling soft deadlines. Because the deadlines that you set yourself have to be matched up with what you're aiming for, and you don't necessarily know that, right? So say if I chose a goal, I want to publish a comic book next year. I've got all of next year to make it and put it together and say, you know what, I'm going to set a soft deadline. It's going to be winter quarter of 2021. I will have a new comic book out. It's going to be 22 pages. Try and be as specific about it as possible. It's going to have 22 pages. It's going to have a cover image. It's going to have space for relevant advertising. It's going to have a whole bunch of things to it. Be as specific as you can about setting all of these deadlines and about setting all of these goals. And once you've got a hard deadline, you've got it can induce panic. There's nothing that helps you get a creative process done faster than panic. It can be an amazing tool if you say like, I'm going to do this with a friend, and that friend is going to follow up with you. That can be the panic inducing thing that really helps you get that picture finished. But yeah, when it comes to finishing things, the big so don't forget the framing of it. Like, I love you guys. I want you guys to live the best life possible, but when it comes to time management, you just have to realize all good things come to an end. We have to get it finished at some point, and if we don't finish it, sometimes we don't know that we don't finish it, and that can be scary. But if you reflect on it at the same time, it can be one of those things that, like, what, it instills a sense of importance and a sense of urgency, and all of these things. So when we talk about starting and finishing projects, we choose, okay, I've got some time this afternoon. Actually, I'm going to dedicate a half hour to thinking about these type of things, to coming up with a vision, to setting some hard goals, to do all of these things. If you've got some time coming up, and if you have the clearest vision possible, and you set the firmest goals you can, all that's left is to execute. And I chose that word for a reason. Execute. It has to be done. Again, all good things come to an end. You have to finish drawing that picture at some point. You have to finish making that comic book at some point. If that means something to you, you have to do it. So get that vision, have that experience of joy, get inspired, use that inspiration to fully punch reality in the teeth with a set of firm goals and say, like, this is what I'm going to do, and then do it. And doing it is going to be the scariest thing in your life. Sometimes it is going to be the most nerve-wracking, awful thing. You're going to have fear in your stomach the whole way through it. There are ways to meet that. Perhaps I should end on that note. Hang on. Okay. Let me teach you some first aid. For fear. Number one, know your enemy. Know your enemy, okay? Your enemy is going to be butterflies in your stomach. It's going to be your hands get all sweaty. It's going to be suddenly I really, really want to sleep. I'm super tired all of a sudden, right? And I really, really want to sleep. You need to write all of these things down. Every single one of us has a response to projects where we're either fighting, running, fight or flight, or freeze. You fight, you fly, or you freeze. You need to know what are those things that you do. You need to reflect on, like, what is my personal response to this? So you need to know those type of things. And, like, if you recognize fear in yourself, knowing is half the battle, as they said in G.I. Joe. You know your enemy, and two, you be prepared. Be prepared to meet that moment. You know this moment is coming. If you are doing anything meaningful, it is going to scare the pants off of you. So you need to be aware of that. You need to be prepared. You're going to come into contact. What are things that can help me? I like to have a stress ball to squish, or I like to listen to music, or I need to throw a tantrum. Going back to being your 5-year-old furry self for a moment, like, let that 5-year-old furry self throw a tantrum, write something, mean and nasty, vandalize something, like, don't actually damage another person's property or anything like that, but, like, be reasonable, be kind of an adult in the way that you unleash your tantrums or your shadows or something like that. Do that. Experience those emotions, experience that negativity, that negativity can be pure energy, and it can be part of the stuff that helps you prepare that your first aid for fear. So yeah, know your enemy, be prepared, and execute. Be prepared and execute. If you know that the fear is coming, if you've done stuff to alleviate that fear, the last thing to do is jump. You gotta go. You gotta take a leap of faith and just go. And you can fly, or you can fall flat on your ass. It happens. People fail. Hopefully you're not doing anything too dangerous or too hard or something like that. But yeah, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it. So you have to jump. So yeah, let me end on that note. Those are some things that you can do. But keep in mind, everything that I've said so far have to relate to, like, 1, have your vision, 2, set your firm goals, 3, execute. Use your time planning strategies, use a planner, use flowcharts, use whatever comes to you. There are tons of personal organization stuff out there that can help you finish either a big project, like, I set down a comic book goal, or a small project. Hey, I just got to get this picture finished or whatever. But yeah, do that. All right, I am 15 minutes over time almost. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it wasn't too terribly traumatic. Questions? Yeah. You're welcome. I hope that it was good. You're 100% welcome. Procrastination is acceptable for certain things. Procrastination is a coping tactic. It's a coping mechanism. So there are a number of ways to deal with it, and I forget all of the exact things, but I think there's a book out there. It's called Procrastinate on Purpose. And it basically lays out some of the things that I've said here. But when it comes down to it, there are things that you can automate. There might be, if you're in a position where you've got family or friends that can help you, you can delegate some things. You can offload certain tasks to them. Be reciprocal. If you can trade their time for something else, so there are those things that you can automate. There are those things that you can delegate. There are the things, and then if it cannot be automated and it cannot be delegated, you need to do it yourself. And so you either do it yourself now, or you do it later, which is procrastinating on purpose. So procrastination can be one of those things. It's a coping mechanism, and absolutely deal with it's an emotional response too. Procrastination can be. It's one of those things that we just kind of like, we want to set it off, because it's a coping mechanism. And we have to deal with those emotions as they come up. The best way that I know how is through meditation. You just have to sit for a while, find something to focus on. It can be your breathing, it can be a pretty rock, it can be, the lines in your hand or something. Like, find something to focus on, breathe for a while, notice that thoughts and emotions are entering your head, and 1, that they need to be acknowledged, 2, that they are temporary. You're saying, like, okay, procrastination's hitting me right now, but it can't stay here forever. I've got something else to focus on right now. And emotions, thoughts, feelings, they arise and they pass away. They're like waves, the waves in the ocean. The thoughts come, they leave. So procrastination can be perfectly acceptable for some things, because certain things are just too hard, and you shouldn't begin attacking anything that is too big for you. But you should have a vision that inspires you, and you should do the best that you can to make a set of goals or or steps or whatever that you can take right away, that you can immediately jump into. You know, that you can start these things. So you start them, you finish them. You know, you look back on the whole experience and you say like, maybe that didn't turn out as well as I was hoping, but I went and I did it, and it's over, and I can move on to the next thing. So, yeah, that's an excellent question. Thanks for asking that. Any more? I'm gonna take a drink of water real quick. All right. I'm sorry if I scared anyone. But that might be part of the things. Like, so, if you have, I was talking to Skit earlier about panic, and it can absolutely help. But yeah, so if you make strong commitments and you're trying to be accountable to other people, that can help too. But yeah, all right. Since there don't appear to be any more questions, I'll go ahead and wrap it up for the YouTube audience and start uploading this video. All right, thanks everyone for coming. I'm super glad that you could all make it. Yeah. Have a good one. To you folks on YouTube, do the YouTube things if you like what I've made. Yeah, we'll see you later. I will now end the